I'm Father Stephen Riley, and in this beautiful garden in Paris, this might be a great place to reflect upon our belief in heaven. Heaven is expressed in some ways as a garden, the Garden of Paradise in the first chapter of Genesis. And yet we are expecting something even greater, not an earthly paradise, but rather a spiritual one in heaven. This is the hope which has animated Christians down the centuries since the resurrection of Jesus and is central to our faith. What might we say about heaven? Well, inevitably we enter into images, and I sometimes joke that we sometimes think of heaven as being like clouds when people are sitting there and playing harps and singing, and I play guitar, and if I'm to spend eternity sitting on a cloud playing my guitar and singing in a choir, I will be absolutely delighted. But that's only one image among many. I think that's important just to talk about those images, because your image is just as valid as mine. And that's not because we make up our image of heaven and therefore we make up heaven. That's what some people might suggest that we do, that we are really projecting onto something which doesn't exist. It's very different from that, but each of our images is valid because it will surpass any image that we have. It can grasp at the beauty that we'll experience in heaven, but we're never able to describe it in earthly words or earthly images. And so in that sense, every image of heaven is as valid as any other. Well, we are certainly aiming for heaven, and we have great hope that we will get there. We pray that we will get to heaven, and we pray that all of those whom we have loved will get there too. And that in fact gives birth to one of the most beautiful images which I ever heard of heaven. Someone described it as being like life as flying on a plane. We think that that is real life, but in fact it's only when we're outside the plane that we realise that what we experienced was very limited, and in fact we're able to come out of that experience into something much greater. And this person talked about the plane, and you leave the plane, you walk out, and as you come to arrivals, then there's that moment, of course, when you kind of walk out through security, and you sort of blink into the light. There's a sea of faces, and you find it difficult to kind of focus on them, and you're looking for the person that you love who's there to pick you up and take you home. And this artist described heaven like that we will come out of this kind of tunnel of our earthly life that we have thought was the only life we had, will emerge into something greater. And that when we get there, we will come into a place where many people, everyone whom we have loved, everyone whose lives we have touched, will be waiting for us to welcome us and to take us into something greater. We continue to hope for heaven, but also a little note is to remind us that heaven is not our final destiny that we hope and pray for. When we die, we believe that we will see God face to face in heaven, should the Lord have mercy on us. But our Christian belief has always been that one day that Christ will return in glory, and on that day we will rise from the dead and will be reunited in body and soul, and that our bodies therefore will live forever, and will live in a new heavens and a new earth where every tear is wiped away, and where God's reign is able to have complete dominion over the earth. So our body is also made for glory, not just our spirits or our souls. And so we pray that we may one day come into sharing that risen life of Christ, and that our friends, our loved ones will be meeting us there. We will live forever in the joy of God's kingdom.